and welcome everyone. Very nice to have all of you today in this U4P talk. The idea of University for the Planet Talks is to bring together communities of changemakers, of people who are looking for pathways to transformation, to more regenerative, thrivable, and peaceful civilization ahead of us. And discovering those pathways is not easy because a lot of people have a vision of what it could be, but how do we move from what is to what is possible? That's a very difficult question in many regards because we need to base our work on existing models and gradually evolve them into the future. So that brought into life this series where we try to explore people that are actually doing this, their work, their practice, their methods, and we try to distill what are the elements of the model. What is this vision that they base their work upon? What are the business models that they employ? And what is the type of leadership that they profess as they move ahead in their work, connecting other people, building up movements, building up their organizations, and creating impact? So today we will explore one of such visionary leaders, but before turning to our guest today, Mandar, I will invite first of all my co-host Morgan to say a few words.
Thank you, Pavel. I'm Morgan Silver Greenberg. I'm joining everyone from a snowstorm in New York City right now. I'm a co-founder with Pavel and other people who, some of them are here, and U4P. And one of the things with U4P when we were sort of conceiving what it is and what it could be is this idea of building tools for thrivability, specifically for human thrivability and planetary thrivability. And as Pavel mentioned, what sort of mindsets are necessary, what are models, what are examples, what are the sort of technical things that people might need to be able to build this sort of future in which human beings are thriving and the planet is thriving. And we think that that there are a number of ideas that really correlate with both doing well in the economy, like this idea that you need peace for prosperity, and that by exploring this model that we hope to allow younger entrepreneurs and people to start to build this pathway and build this new future. And so with that, I'd love to hand it over to Mandar, and we'll get into some of these questions about it. But I feel like Mandar will be a great example of how to live a life in the way of these sort of pillars that we speak of. So Mandar, to you.
Thank you, Morgan and Pavel and Alexander Laszlo for getting me into this community of communities. I have some friends here and I have already added a few people on LinkedIn, so I look forward to deepening our friendships. I'm currently based in India. I'm currently based in Mumbai in India, where I grew up. I came back to India during the first lockdown to be with my parents. And I don't think I have a reason to go back. It's a beautiful time of my life to just be with them. We enjoy a meal every day. We play cards in the afternoon. And yeah, it's a good life, counting the blessings, as they say. By default, I feel like I'm not into. I'm into creating experiences. I'm into creating proof of concepts, especially journeys that not many people want to get into. And scaling up of those proof of concepts somehow is not in my genes. So this talk, I will share my experiences of working in these lateral fields. And if people have some dots to connect, then that is where I think the network of network effects should take up. Because the word peace is our nature, So by example, I will give you, have you been frustrated? Yes, we have been angry, upset, dejected, sad. Have you enjoyed those states of emotions? Have you said, yes, man, I got frustrated? No, never. All we do is we say, time out, I need to take care of myself. So this is just a clue that our nature is peace. And we do everything in our life to be in that peaceful state. Most of us on the planet, I would say. So in 2016, I was working for a small oil company called Shell. And I had completed 18 years working in Houston for Shell in the belly of the beast. And my job was in the GameChanger program. So it's an innovation outfit of Shell, early stage innovation, with nobody giving a mandate. So nobody giving a 140 character mandate that, okay, this is your mandate. So we were 10 game changers, and we managed a multi-million-dollar budget every year. And the idea was to create proof of concept. So that is where my DNA started recalibrating itself, that, wow, these are interesting spaces. Everybody has a good idea, but can I help a good idea become a proof of concept? For example, Casper the ghost. For many people is a scary subject, a ghost. But for some people, it's a cute, cuddly ghost. So many ideas that are on the fringe, that most people say that's stupid, you can think of those ideas as Casper the ghost. They need help, they need support, because the person who has the idea sees the potential but doesn't know how to go there. So that is the journey from an idea to proof of concept. And that's where my life at Shell changed. I spent about 10 years in this Game Changer program. Always on the other side of the negotiating table, yeah, always as a funder. And 2016, I started thinking about violence, and can I look at violence with a business lens? For example, child trafficking. Yeah, it's a very yucky thing where it happens because somebody makes money from it. Drugs on campus, it happens because somebody is making money from it. So if you apply this lens, you will see that most violence has a business model that keeps it going. So I started thinking about, can peace have a business model? Because then it will be sustainable. And so I started investing Shell money into peace building programs that create business value for Shell. So that is where my journey began, that yes, you can invest in peace, and it is not just a philanthropic CSR activity. There is a business value justification to it. That example was in Nigeria, where I was attacked in a mob attack in 2001 as a petroleum engineer. And when you look at Nigeria, whenever this violence happens, the bad actors will siphon oil from the pipelines. And there is a huge black market for that oil, shiploads of oil, black market for oil. So that was the business case. Like, can I bring peace building programs in the communities in Nigeria for two things? One, social value, harmony, good societal value. Second, we will stop the loss of revenue. That's money. So that is where I jumped into this, and I'm now going to share my screen and walk you through a few slides. And so that is where I started thinking about, hey, what's my purpose in life? I have been at Shell 18 years. I have been a game changer, sexy job. But this project, the investment I made in a peace building program through Shell GameChanger, kind of was my provocation to think about a higher purpose. Can business invest in peace? So then I had to redefine what is peace. It is not just the absence of war. Yeah, so it's all these things that are not too far away from us. It is not in Ukraine. It is not in Somalia. It is right in our backyards, right? Uh, Having lived 25 years in the US, the mass shootings in schools, what a yucky thing, but it still happens. Drugs and depression, homelessness issue, the refugee crisis, like all these things are right under our nose. We don't have to leave where we live to see that there is violence in our backyards. So this is a framework that most of you know, the Sustainable Development Goals framework. And lo and behold, number 16 is right there. But if you look at any sustainability program, the Cornells, the Stanfords, the Yales, they have excellent programs, masters in sustainability, but nobody addresses number 16. Because it's very safe to play in that climate space. It's very safe to play in that space and say, my company is going to invest in net zero by 2050. All my fleet is going to change from diesel fuel to EV fuel. Yeah, it's very safe, very, very safe. So that is where I started focusing my time since 2018 on, can peace be profitable? Can peace be profitable? And because of my corporate experience, I'm now part of a UN working group that I've been asked to look at why companies should invest in peace. And that is where you need to have the network of network effects. You need to find the good people inside large organizations who are looking at reimagining their purpose. They are not just there for a paycheck. They know the power of the company, the corporation they work for, and the impact they can have. And those are the people that will bring that change from within the belly of the beast. So when Pavel asked me to make this presentation, I think I want to focus on crisis because it's a leadership crisis. It's a leadership crisis where people are playing it safe. Yeah, I thought pandemic would awaken people. Pandemic would awaken people to do more, but that has not been my experience. I'm still not very hopeful because the leaders in our world, whether it's political leaders, business leaders, civic leaders, they claim to be busy, but I don't know what they're busy with. And if peace doesn't get your attention, then something is wrong. Yeah, something is not correct. So that's where I think we have to find each other. And this is the cornerstone of the work that I do, is based on, medical research. Medical science has now proven beyond doubt that there are two types of autonomic nervous system. One is the sympathetic nervous system. You call it fight or flight. And the example is that of a rope, but it's perceived as a snake. And we run. We are scared. We want to attack. Because that's what we have trained ourselves. Yeah. And that's what everything from childhood we are trained to fight it out. But there is another nervous system component called the parasympathetic nervous system, also referred as the peace system, that tells you, Pavel, relax. It's just a rope. Relax, man, calm down. That voice, that inner voice is what my work focuses on, is to activate that inner voice. And that voice, you don't have to be in India. You don't have to be a certain religion. You don't have to be a certain nationality to invoke that inner voice. Yeah, you can call it conscience. You can call it, Star Wars fans can call it the force. That force can be invoked. Yeah, that power to awaken is in each and every one of us. And once that force is awakened, you will only make the right choices. Yeah, that is the power, the power of this philosophy is, once consciousness, you have access to improving, enhancing your consciousness, then it will be a guiding light for you. It will improve your intuitive feelings, your decision making, etc., etc. Why do we need this? Because the problems that we have are multifold. I think it's a poly crisis, right? So we cannot solve these problems with the same kind of consciousness that brings this to life. So how do you transform consciousness? That is again never addressed in leadership circles. We look at changing the way we work, but we never look at who is the person working on this team. So that's where I designed, based on my experience at Shell, what I call the purpose innovation labs. And the fundamental question that we ask in these labs is, what else can be your purpose? And that creates a white space, right? That creates a white space. And that is where the challenge to participants is to create those breakthrough innovations that will do both. It will create social value and business impact. One without the other is not enough. You need to have the business value, because that's the only way to sustain that idea, right? So that you go beyond philanthropic or CSR investments. I'm going to show you an example of one of my first purpose innovation labs I did for the city of Los Angeles. And the city of Los Angeles, most of us know as where Santa Monica Beach, Venice Beach, Hollywood. But there is a dark side to city of Los Angeles. It's called South Central Los Angeles. And roughly, you can say there is a murder every other day, roughly. 70% of the violence in LA happens in South Central LA. So we looked at the purpose of a police department, and the challenge that we gave was, can a police officer become a peace officer? Because in most countries, they come to the incidents after the incidents has happened. And with such a large force, like 10,000 police officers in LA, that was the mission of that purpose lab, is can a police officer be reimagined as a peace officer? And you will now ask, why Los Angeles? Because I did some rough calculations on the cost of violence in Los Angeles. And it shocked me. One murder in Los Angeles, South Central, if you add certain line items of what happens when a murder happens, after a murder happens, you need to send some detectives to investigate, catch the criminal, put them in jail. There is a case, there is a jury, there is a sentence. And if you add the dollar value of what the city is spending, that number came to 8 million per murder. $8 million are spent by the city of Los Angeles per homicide. So with about 200 to 300 murders, that's a staggering amount of money down the drain on violence. And there are other numbers that get added. Like, for example, when there is more violence, you need more cops. When you need more cops, you need more trousers, you need belts, you need guns, you need body cameras, right? So this business is just adding up. So this is the place where I'll show you a video of the graduation ceremony of the Purpose Lab, where we brought gang members and police officers and victims of gun violence, gang violence, in the same neighborhood in a 2-month boot camp. So these are stakeholders that usually don't talk to each other. Yeah, they don't hang out with each other. So we made a curriculum based on that curriculum. This is a graduation ceremony where some of these people are gang leaders, 20, 25 years in prison. And I'll just play the video now.
Inside this room in South LA, the simple act of breathing is connecting an unlikely group of people in a way even they never thought possible.
When it first started, I thought He was crazy.
Day one, I got out of the car and I saw Chief Cato, and I'm like, oh snap, the police.
A bit skeptical, something different.
Officers, former gang members, LA residents who admit they had a negative view of police now look forward to these moments when they can get together to just breathe.
We're all human and we're all trying to walk this earth, trying to find answers and trying to live a better life.
The man connecting this unlikely group, Mandar Apte with Cities for Peace.
It has to start somewhere.
Apte and his program promote non-violence in a notoriously violent place, South LA. And that is why Apte picked this area to introduce deep breathing, meditation, and yoga.
If LA can become the change, then it creates a ripple effect.
At first, these people were skeptical, but eventually, all of that floated away, and they became believers.
It helped me a lot with this exercise. We can come together as a community and, God, make it better.
It works. It got me to live in the now. It's a peaceful place.
These exercises arm everyone here with compassion, empathy, and self-control.
The breathing was good because it taught me how to relax and how to be one within my body, mind, and soul.
I can control my breathing, I can control my thoughts, therefore I can control my actions.
That includes officers out on calls.
We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Who have to arrest people.
We're a little bit more understanding in terms of how they feel.
This group quickly realized not only did breathing connect them, but so did their passion, commitment, and desire to make Los Angeles a safer place.
The connection, the understanding, how we're all human, and how if we think peace, we can be peace.
Something so simple, creating bonds, forging friendships.
I was able to see past the uniform and see them as human beings, and I would like to think from the experience that they were able to see me in the same light. Everybody was comfortable, we were hugging, and I will continue to do it.
The mastermind giving all the credit to the people who are willing to try. He calls this a beautiful experiment and says this is just the beginning.
An avalanche of peace and love. Because non-violence is simply love.
Adrian Arambulo for Life Connected.
Right. If NBC had not come that evening to document, nobody would have believed that we had done this work by bringing gang members from South Central, LAPD officers, victims of violence, and done this work. So now that this work was done, at the end of the workshop, I asked my participants, have you sold drugs? And believe it or not, the police also raised their hand. So I told them, that means you know the art of selling. You know how to sell. Can you help me sell peace? So that is where the ideology of peace and profit got a boost. So, this is just one of the examples, and the other place where we worked is in schools. About 25 schools did a program that we have created called Be the Change to promote peace in the classroom, mental well-being in the classroom. So with that, I think I will just pause and see whether there are some questions for me, Pavel.
Thank you, Mandar. And actually, the idea of the meeting today is that we will first begin with the interaction between us, me and Morgan, and inviting other participants to join in and also ask questions. And then at the end of the meeting today, we would like also to map out what we have learned and what we see as a potential of this model and similar models. So each of our talks, we also want to turn into a collective kind of knowledge co-production labs. So we'll see how it will work, but let's start now with questions. And indeed, I have a question. I know that Morgan has a few questions, and I welcome others also to think about their questions. So maybe first of all, you continue to walk this path. Who do you see can become the main actor interested in asking for peace, let's say, and asking services from an organization like yours? Is it cities or is it businesses? Can businesses themselves actually recognize that peace becomes a profit making activity for them? Can they be users of your services?
Very good question. I think, like I said in the beginning, peace is our nature. So everybody and anybody should get involved into it. My interest is in the business world because that is where I spent a lot of time. So, think about businesses like Starbucks or McDonald's or Burger King. They are bang in the center of these neighborhoods that have violence. But what are they doing about it? Nothing, question mark, zero, nothing. Are their customers impacted by violence in those neighborhoods? Absolutely, yes. If you search, Starbucks has just closed about 24 stores in inner cities of Seattle, LA, Pittsburgh, citing safety concerns. Are their staff impacted by violence? The staff that are at the barista, that that are at the takeaway? Of course, just Google for it. I think that is where business needs to have that enlightened leader who will say, wow, this is affecting my bottom line. So not only should I invest in peace, but I should make that as my cornerstone because that will differentiate my brand from other brands. So I think that is where we need one or two enlightened leaders, and then the domino effect will take over, because if you look at verticals like sports for peace, music for peace, travel for peace, through these purpose labs, all you have to do is ask the business, like, what else can you do, right? If you can invest in climate change, what about the inner climate change?
I guess a follow-up question on this, Mandar, is also from Nicole from chat. Can you introduce us maybe to a business model that you have in mind that can work?
Well, it has worked, Nicole. So the example I gave you was, my gang member students, they are my friends now. When they say, yes, they know how to sell, I have created some digital products. Okay, so the digital products are peace education curriculums. And they stand up for peace. They take it to the neighborhood schools. They decide a price, sale price, and I give them 50% of the revenue. And you can be anywhere and make this happen in thousands of schools, thousands of police departments in the United States, right? So business model is right here. And it follows the initial hypothesis, Nicole, that violence like child trafficking or drugs, somebody makes money. The person who does these ghastly acts is making money. So can we have the same analogy? Right? And then you apply that analogy to absolutely anywhere, like art for peace, music for peace. You can do you just have to ask that question, what else can be my purpose?
So in that case, who was paying for it? The city?
The school.
The school?
Yeah, schools have a budget for teacher development, professional development. Teachers were stressed during pandemic. Sometimes foundations have paid. So there are some foundations we used as an example in Orange County. This is south of Los Angeles. So the Orange County Community Foundation was concerned about the well-being of the leaders that they already invest. And so they paid. Somebody pays because that's it's not free, because once you give it for free, it's not of value. And so that's where what I did is the person making the business development chooses the sale price. For example, America also had this DEI bubble that suddenly arose. So one company that we all know, Pfizer, they took this peace online module to all their staff at a research lab. $4,000 they paid. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So that's where I realized that, peace education is where it should begin. So I started looking at leaders in, for example, Discovery Education, the channel, Discovery Channel. I thought it was a non-profit organization, but it's a highly profitable company. Their programs are in 70% of American schools. So I thought, I'm proposing peace education. American school crisis is massive, but there is no interest. And so that is where I started feeling that where is the leader? How come the leadership in these companies is not awakened? I think because we as a society, we are desensitized, we are immune. We think violence doesn't happen in my neighborhood, my community, my school, because yeah, I don't. It happens somewhere in Los Angeles, South Central.
May I also ask about the experience of these young people? Are they also now leaders in that way?
Yes, so the people that I have trained in Los Angeles, the videos that you saw, they were trained to teach meditation to their communities. And once they teach 50 people, then I certify them as an ambassador of peace. So that's a certification program that we created. And once I did this in Los Angeles, then it was replicated in many other communities during the pandemic. So Minneapolis had this George Floyd murder. So we were brought in to do this ambassador of peace training there. Just recently, we trained 135 people in Washington, D.C. Southeast as ambassador of peace. So that person who is, doing the business development, because they are standing up for peace, they also need to have that inner tool. Because impact of trauma doesn't just go away by just saying, okay, now I'm free, right? It's a continuous work in progress.
Yeah, it should be as cool as yoga teacher trainings, right?
Yes, correct. But America has a different connotation of yoga, right? So in America, the yoga is more about upward dog, downward dog, upward dog, downward dog. Whereas that's not the case at all. It's a mental game. It's not a physical game.
Thank you. Morgan, I know that you had a question, which I think also can turn light on some other aspects of this experience from Mandar.
Yes, well, firstly, Nicole, that was that best question. That's the question I was thinking of too. Is can you talk about business models and how to actually make this happen in a capitalist economy? And that was a beautiful answer. I have another question, which is I know that you also mentor, and I was wondering if you could kind of talk about what skill sets you think are most important for this new generation of leaders and how you view that practice.
I mean, at one level, who the hell am I to mentor anybody, right? So that's the space that I'm also learning with every conversation. Because the space that I feel is I am sharing what I have learned. That doesn't mean I have learned everything, right? So in fact, the students that I teach, the focus groups that I have is people who have been incarcerated. They are truly heroes. So I would say it's a give and take. I learn much more than what I share. So the only quality we should have is making sure that we are not here to promote anger or be angry, to be sad or make other people sad. Like once you have that desire that I don't want to have any negative emotion, that's the space. That is where the mentoring or whatever knowledge share begins. It starts with a personal commitment, and that is where you have to come to that place that I don't want to live like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I want to be free. And that requires a lot of self-introspection. I would
Thank
like to answer one more business model for Nicole, because that question really is where we all need to focus our attention on. So Nicole, what I did 7 years ago when I started my journey outside of Shell is I knew the value of a story. So, and I used to live in the United States, and I know the country is polarized about guns. So what I did was I created a film that brought the parents from the Sandy Hook School, one of the deadliest mass shootings till then in my American life, and gang members from Los Angeles. So people on opposite sides of the gun. And I took them on a 10-day journey in India. And I filmed it. And we all had transformative impact, right? So we all were not the same as we were 10 days in that journey. That story, when people started watching that story, people started asking me for, bringing that film in their neighborhoods. So I did screenings in gangs in Chicago, in New York, in Austin. And people started asking me, when is your next trip? So that is where I started the travel for peace, right? So it's not a honeymoon travel. And so I brought 4 delegations to India of mayors, police chiefs, gang leaders. And so that is another business model, which led me to what I will be doing now in 2024. I'm working on a reality TV show. So it's entertainment, but the purpose of the entertainment is peace. And it's based on my 4 journeys to India. So anybody who has been to India, this country is crazy, right? So this country definitely has some, whatever you call it, spiritual power, whatever you call it. Something strange happens here every time I bring delegations here. So that is where I started thinking about entertainment for peace, right? And that is where you need to then look at music, sports, like all these are verticals that all you need, Nicole, is the leader who will say, come here and play. I'll create a play area. Come.
Yeah, but it also needs wise people behind, right?
Yeah, I think, my experience is the wisdom is within. So all you need to do is invite people without forcing them, and the wisdom will come out. Because our nature is peace, no? So
yeah, and I think you said a very a good word here, invitation. I always do also experiences for others, but inviting. It's not demanding or not begging or whatsoever. It's invitation. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think we it's already happening, but we'd love to open this up to this is an intimate group, and so please just raise your hand and we'll sort of pass the questions around.
I haven't really cleared the business game that we talked with the schools, because you said that you sell the curriculum, the peace education curriculum, and then give 50% of the profits. But do you give it back to the same school?
Do you what? Sorry?
Do you give that 50% back to the same school?
No.
Okay, so who gets the 50% of the profit?
The person who makes that business development.
Okay.
The person who stands up for peace and makes the deal.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Somebody pays, but it doesn't have to be the school. So that is where a network of network comes in, There are enough good people that are wanting to do good CSR, but all they're doing is planting trees or, whatever, some small thing like here and there. If you find the right person and say, okay, will your company sponsor peace education curriculum in 20 schools in your own headquarters town? Because all your employees, the children go to that same school. Say, why not? Yeah, we'll put your logo. We'll give certificates with your logo. So I think that is where the person making this happen needs to have that network phenomenon. What's in it for different groups to come together?
That's amazing. Thank you.
John?
Yes. Well, first of all, Mandar, congratulations for your initiative and your dedicated work. And thank you for sharing. And now I'm going to issue some challenges. Because I have a lot of white hair, so I'm allowed to challenge. And we haven't mentioned human rights. We haven't mentioned nature's rights. And here in Costa Rica, we're very, very strong on rights. And so I was hoping that the whole concept of people's rights can be woven in to this very beautiful approach that you're developing. The other, really, it's a challenge, but it's a question that I have. When we approach the business community and we're asking them to get involved in peace initiatives, and we put it in the context of it's a better way to protect my business, grow my business. I'm in a difficult neighborhood, and this is my way of reaching out. Okay, I know what we're doing psychologically and socially, but it doesn't reach that inner part of ourselves, I feel, that will help to transform people who are so concerned about making money into more altruistic people from their soul, and just working with the gangs and the people who, the more excluded members of their neighborhood, simply because of their love for humanity. And I think we also have to do some work at the soul level and not just at the me level. And so my challenge to all of us is really, because I think we have been working for many, many years in our change initiatives, but not taking the soul into consideration. And your part of the world has taught us many things about how we can be more connected. So those are my challenges, my dear friend, and sent to you with love and tenderness. Yeah.
I mean, I completely agree with you. And if you click the link I've just shared, in my purpose lab, there is a cornerstone on inner purpose and outer purpose coming together. So that is the cornerstone of my work. Like I said, whether you are a police officer, a nurse, a business executive, you need to have tools to recalibrate your inner peace system, because you need to make decisions. And if you need to make decisions, they need to come from that inner space. Like I said, Pavel, relax, it's okay. So yeah, this capsule, you can call it a homeopathic capsule of that inner peace, is integrated in my work at every level. And that is the answer to your question. That it's not just make business models and make money, but first you create the inner space. Why are you creating the repurposing? And that is a very spiritual journey that I bring people on. No. I thought the pandemic would do that for me, but I think pandemic people have also forgotten. Life is short. I can die tomorrow, right? What am I doing in my life? I thought pandemic was for that purpose.
Mandar, maybe going back to the question of peace making as a business, while working on your model, which is, let's say, education driven, do you see there is a range of other possible models? So, for example, you mentioned a lot that, let's say, the demand of local businesses in specific area, like you were questioning the situation with yourself being attacked in Africa, or the situation with businesses like Starbucks closing down because of violence in the area. Education in schools could be a component of the solution, but obviously that's not enough. Like, what would be other services? Like, what would be a broader scope? Like, if we go beyond what you do, let's say into the field, what do you see as really working approaches?
I again go back to peace is our nature. So it's not just education. It needs to be in every strata of life. Policing, let's take policing, for example. There is a huge cost to the mistake of a police officer in America if there is an incident because of the police officer. Okay, there's a lawsuit, it's a massive lawsuit. There's a reputation damage. So now who is in charge of that? Is the Department of Public Health, Department of Public Safety. So that's where this training needs to be integrated in places of high stress, where one mistake has a dollar value significance. So for example, police systems, in America, they wear blue, but they can't just go in jeans, the blue jeans, right? Because there is a policy. The policy says you will go in this uniform. You will put the gun on this side of the belt. So whatever policy change happens, that, before you go out on the beat, you have to take 10 minutes of quiet time. That's a policy. And that is where you need leaders at the top to say, hey, it's not just for well-being. It's not just for stress management. It's for the quality of decisions that people are making. So that you apply for, various roles like pilots, firefighters, emergency room doctors and nurses. 30% of American surgeries, Pavel, are wrongly done. 30%. You go for a left knee replacement, the patient comes back with a right knee replaced. Yeah, so that is where I think it needs to be thought of from both the lens of money as well as the morally the right thing to do. Suicides. I'll tell you one more example. Yesterday in Mumbai, the lifeline of this city is the local train. The lifeline, millions of people use the local train. And I was stranded for a few hours because there was a train driver who committed suicide. And the news was he was overpressured, he was overworked. So one person not managing his own mental well-being, mental health, and created an act of violence. How can it be? It's 2024. So that's where we have to create the pressure. The systems have to create a pressure, and that is where I think, it has to be I don't know what the solution is. We have to keep giving people experiences and examples, and let the pot stir.
Yes, and account for the cost of externalities to the system and build that into the training budget as well. There's a question from Petra. She says, I'm teaching a course in organizational psychology to business majors. Could you recommend any articles, books to include in the curriculum to teach our students about contemporary, collaborative, and sustainable approaches to business and management? And then she says, thank you. Your work is absolutely inspiring. So now you have to live up to that in your answer.
Thank you, Petra. I don't think I know a sustainable approach to business. No, I don't have any answer on the top of my mind, but I'll message you on LinkedIn if I find something.
Yeah. I'd like to mention that that your model to have these peace ambassadors that then go to their local networks, that already is a model, and it's a model that just to recommend something to Petra, if you look at the organization AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, which is very popular in the United States, they have a sustainable network-based business model to accomplish the goal of helping people become sober. It's a great one, great case study.
Yeah, actually, I'm actively looking for people who are running organizations that support victims of violence, survivors of violence, because not only can I help them become more peaceful through their own trauma healing, but they are the best advocates for peace, having gone through the dark side of life. So if anybody has any such connections where there are, organizations of women or youth who have been abused, who are, looking for that healing, but also prosperity, like peace and prosperity. I think that is where my focus now will be, is to look for partners that can stand up for peace, having gone through a dark side.
I feel inclined to actually, Morgan, maybe we can ask one or two more questions, and then maybe we'll open up this space of knowledge co-creation and try to explore what Mandar presented to us as a kind of springboard for, okay, can this become a model of work? Can we get inspired to see what are the pathways? So maybe we'll take one or two questions and then move to that modality.
I had a question around personal pathways to achieve this, and if you could sort of speak to your own personal pathway, or how a new generation might find their way to this work.
My pathway was through my own life and turbulence in my life. I was working at Shell, and I was, God knows, frustrated, not happy, whatever that mix is. And it was affecting my health. So in 2002, one of my friends told me to do a workshop called the Art of Living Happiness Workshop. And I did this in Houston. My teachers were two white Americans. And I was so impressed with their dedication for daily sadhana, daily meditation. I enjoyed the workshop. Nobody had taught me any such thing before when I grew up in India. But yeah, that was my entry point, is the personal life stress, frustration, whatever you call it, at the workplace. And this workshop, then 1 year later, I had some health breakthroughs. I decided that, okay, I want to become a teacher. It was a journey by itself. And I started teaching at Shell. And at Shell, I taught 2,000 people how to meditate. So that was, I would say, that itself is a is a labor of love within the belly of the beast. And that is where I started crystallizing my concept, right? That peace is our nature. Whether you are a janitor or a chef or a CEO, you're all looking for that inner solace. So once you have belief in your product, then there is no stopping, right? You believe, you go for it. So that product is inner peace, and yeah, everybody's looking for it outside.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Mandar. So let's now, what I would suggest is that in the spirit of what I think Jan so beautifully modeled for us in her question, let's think of, and that's also the spirit of what we want to embody in this conversation space, is to see our guests, our speakers, as role model, but to find what is the learning for all of us. what do we get inspired by? What is the key things we digest from this experience that was presented to us? And what are the open questions that we stay with? So I open up the floor and welcome those who want to contribute. Alexander, please.
Yeah, I wrote the one about if there's a business case for Ubuntu. My question, Mandar, and to all of us is, there is a way of addressing this individually, and there's a way of addressing this collectively. And a lot of what we have been looking at is, how do we move into those the listening spaces where we can connect with the places of peace and of calm, to breathe, connect with spirit. So these are all practices that take us through this individual engagement to allow us to be socially fluid and fluent. What can be done, or are there things that can be done that allow for this collective field, collective consciousness? Now, I know that's a byproduct of the individual alignment and tuning, yes, but is there a way of addressing this as a whole system, whole collective? It's just a curiosity if you've thought about that.
No, I think individuals have to be awakened because they are the change makers within the collective groups. So, can you give an example of what you mean by individuals taking a time out? Like, that's great, but give an example of collective.
Yes, Mandar. Okay, so let me do that. I'm thinking about for things like the forest. Let's just take this to nature for a moment, right? And you think of a forest as what I call a systemic nurturance space. So there's a space itself where if you're in a forest. Now, not all forests have a sense of peace in them, but many do. And there is a distribution there's a living a thriving ecosystem. You sense the aliveness, the interconnection of things, because it's almost a greenhouse. The humans can think of it that way, but there's a container there. The forest is a field. How can we create these containers, or let's say a greenhouse effect in a good way, where we can foster, elicit, bring forth, cultivate an environment of that brings forth the individual practices of peace? So I'm thinking we have things like industrial parks. Okay, I'm just in the business frame. We have industrial parks. We have the ecosystem kind of frames that we can bring into the business world. Can we create a kind of business environment of peace where you walk into the room and then there's the music and there's the psychedelic. Okay, maybe it's going too far. But the point is there can be, you can walk into a space where there's a sense of calm and peace. It can be done all through incense and other things, right? So what might be the business case for this is kind of what I'm asking.
I think for that to happen, you have to believe in the cycle of life. That unless there is violence at such huge levels, there is no value for peace. Right? So they seem to be opposites, but they are complementing each other. So this Ubuntu, I love you, everybody, kumbaya, it's a great goal, but it will lose its effect because that's not what life is about. So then you have to come to believe certain ancient philosophies that, you are here just as a transition, and you are here to have your own development. So that's where the seeker in you begins, that, okay, who am I? Like all these questions then start unfolding. Who can I carry along with me? All these things. But I think your challenge is correct. Like, what can we do that makes you stand for peace? Okay, and I stand for peace. how can that be a norm or a value that a company says, I stand for peace, no corruption, whatever that stand is, how can you make that peace? I stand for peace. Whatever we do here in my company it's about peace. I think that will require
I love that. Mandar, I love that. And Jan, I know you're up next. And you have your hand. Can just one more last small thing on this, and I don't want to dominate after. I'll pass it right on. Yes, and Thich Nhat Hanh and more recently Charles Eisenstein, talk about interbeing. And this interbeing is a different form of being. It's not the person who says, I am a human being coming to save the rainforest. It's a person who says, I am part of the rainforest trying to save itself.
Yeah.
How do we cultivate that sense of I am part of this city, I'm part of this community, I'm part of this ecosystem, I am this ecosystem, trying to being in this way. And that's the interbeing. It's not, I think part of the problem with our peace issues is because we're all addressing this from the standpoint of individual best practices and individual, I'm going to be peaceful, you should be peaceful with me. Okay, let's both be peaceful, but we're walking together peacefully, rather than we are, and let's speak as an interbeing, and let's embody this interbeing. That's what I was thinking about, Mandar, in that sense. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
And maybe if I may jump in and quickly comment, I think that one of the issues, and I don't know, Mandar, if you've seen it in your work, in particular in LA, this growing sense of belonging, like this is my community, like I need to protect it. I'm thinking of some space which was created by a friend of Morgan in Brooklyn, Pioneer Works, which is an amazing artistic space. And it's not only an artistic space; it sort of became a community space for especially for young people to go into and to do art together, hang out, play some music, and so on. It's like a huge warehouse that was turned into this place and evolved over time and became a local community center, because also artists started to come there, scientists started to come there to take residences. But I feel like once you have a place like this, the community begins taking like ownership and honor, like pride of having such a place, and really feeling the need to protect it, because that's the place of belonging, and that I feel is the element that probably, I'm not saying is missing in your model, Mandar, because we are like trying to look beyond and see what can be done in this kind of work. But perhaps in general, the sense of belonging brings back this idea that we need to cultivate the peace together. So that could be my version of an answer to kind of evolve from where we are discussing. Mandar, do you want to comment, or shall we switch to Jan?
Just one comment. It is all about that feeling of belongingness. It's a sense of belongingness that you attach to yourself first, and you say, okay, I need to take care of my emotions. I need to take care of my well-being. So if you are belonging to yourself, you will care about yourself. You will change your waking time, sleeping time, whatever people you hang out time. That circle of belongingness has no end. So, for example, 20 years after living in America, there was something that was a calling that told me, go to Los Angeles. I had nothing to do with, I'm not even black, white, I'm not part of gangs, I'm not part of LAPD cops. I'm also wondering sometimes, what the hell was I doing there? So it's your evolving, and that is what Alexander was also trying to indicate, is as you are evolving, you are part of them, is what I started feeling, that, violence here, it will affect me. It has to affect me at micro level, at emotion level. How can a violence in a school not affect you? How can you just let it pass? So that is where I think the key is belonging. How much is your sense of belonging with the planet, the trees, the mountains, the air. That is where the inner climate, that is where the leadership and the inner climate needs to also evolve. Yes, Jan.
Yes, just to continue building on this concept that Alexander introduced on interbeing, which I think is very important. And I think that Dan Siegel, the psychologist, who's written many books, talks about intra-being. And I think that part of strengthening our capacity for interbeing has to do with the connection with our capacity to strengthen our intra-being. And so we see a relationship between those two that we should be working on in terms of our evolution, our conscious evolution, both as individuals and as humanity. So I just don't know how to put that on a post-it, Pavel, but that's what I'm thinking as I hear the three of you discussing this.
Pavel, it's 7 minutes. Shall we take some time to be quiet now?
Okay, I think we can move into the final part, which is a small practice. Mandar, over to you.
Lovely. Many of you do, I'm sure, practice some form of timeouts. I will share a technique that you have seen on the video. And if gangsters in LA can do it, you can also do it. The exercise is called bellows breath. You're making your lung like a bellow. You're filling it with air and releasing it, filling it, releasing it. I'll demo it now, then we'll all do it together. It takes 5 minutes. And if you like it, do it every day of your life. Yeah. So you sit with your hands lightly held fist near your shoulder and come to the front of your chair so that you don't hurt your elbow. And come away from your desk so you don't hurt your elbow again. You breathe in through your nose, you breathe out through the nose. And as you breathe in, your hands go up and the fist opens. And as you breathe out, the fist closes. Yeah. So okay, great. Got it? Now I will tell you how not to do this because our eyes will be closed. The first way of how not to do this is you're not in a park and lazing it out, right? So you won't get any benefit out of it if you do it as a lazy, yeah. And the second way of how not to do it is it's not macho weightlifting. Yeah, you may damage your nose. It's a blend of the two. It's enthusiasm, but gravity is pulling it down. You're not weightlifting. There is no stress on your face. And our lungs determine the quality of our life. So this exercise will help you expand your lungs. You will sing better. You will dive deeper. You will run longer, like as your lung capacity increases, right? So I'll give the rhythm and then we'll all do it with our eyes closed. Yeah. So let's close our eyes. Normal breath in. Let go. And begin. Breathe in, out, in, 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 and relax your hands. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your hands, the palms on your laps. And take your attention inward and observe the sensations in the body. Observe your breath. Keeping the eyes closed. Second round. Lightly held fist near the shoulder. Normal breath in. Breathe out. Begin. In, 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 and relax your hands. Keep your body still, eyes closed, and observe your breath. Relax your shoulders, relax your face. The third and final round, hands in position, normal breath in, let go, begin. In, 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 and relax your hands. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your body still. Notice the sensations in the body. Long, deep breath in, fill up your lungs. And slowly breathe out. In this state of silence, remember your friends, family members, wherever they may be, and send them your love, send them your peace and blessings. Whenever they are happy, we are happy. Long, deep inhale. Breathe out through your mouth. And rolling your neck clockwise a few times. And then anti-clockwise. Moving your shoulders, moving your arms, feet, toes. Whenever you feel complete, we may gently open the eyes. Was it good? Some of you, for it was new. So do this for 5 days, and if you like it for the rest of your life, this is a very, very profound exercise. Yeah.
Mandar, quick question. Are we breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth each time, or just through the nose?
In and out through the nose.
In and out through the nose. Thank you.
15 counts, space, another 15, space, another 15, and then as much silence as you want. So 3 rounds of 15 with a gap in the middle. Yeah. Fresh air will make it deeper. The cleanse will be deeper. The healing will be deeper. You will feel lighter. Don't teach anybody till you become a teacher. People also have emotive releases. They might think you made them cry, so just do it for yourself till you learn how to teach.
Thank you. I think it was a beautiful conversation and a beautiful ending to it. And I hope everyone who attended, we managed to learn a lot today from the perspective of simple but very efficient approach to promoting peace. And thank you, Mandar, for being with us today and holding this space and also teaching us an important tool. Morgan mentioned the need for tools, and I guess this is one of them that is really critical. And thank you. And in a month from now, we will have our next U4P talk with several speakers. So you will receive, if you subscribe to our email list, you will receive information, but it will be around creating social innovation ecosystems for regenerative economy, and it will be multiple speakers. It will be done together with Transformations community. I think it will be a very exciting conversation. Thank you, Mandar, for being with us today. Morgan, any final words?
No, I just want to say thank you so much, and thank you for that tool, and thank you for your wisdom.
Thank you. Much love, and enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy your week, your month, your year, your life. May peace be with you. Goodbye.